Okay, perfect. All right, any more food? Did we exhaust the recipes this morning? And I loved it. Everyone was talking about cooking tips, and Tyler's like, yeah, you should. Okay. So who do we have left? Devin, Colt, Sarah. Is that it?
Yeah. Can I go? Because I actually have to head to
Yes,
my
yes, I
exam.
remember. Did you do a peer critique today?
No.
Okay, so you'll have to watch one more if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay, and everyone else, we're doing peer critiques today as well, so be picking somebody out so that you can take some notes. Remember that when it says strengths and weaknesses, I want strengths and weaknesses, and when it says specific purpose format, I want specific purpose format. So that's where people miss points on critiques. Complete sentences there. Are we good? Okay, go ahead, Devin.
All right. So today we're going to talk about changing and checking your oil. Now, a lot of you think that's an easy procedure, but statistics show that 2 out of 3 people can't even check their engine oil. Now, that's kind of sad if you ask me. Now, there's multiple steps to changing your oil, but when it comes to checking your oil, it's fairly easy, and we'll get more in depth into checking your oil first. So when it comes to checking your oil, you want to find a yellow ring that is located near the engine. It is usually very easy to find, and typically all you do is you just pull that up, and this is done after you change your oil. This is to ensure that you've added the correct amount in and it's clear. Now, in order to check to see if you need to change your oil, there's something called heads-up display in your vehicle. That is where you can view tire pressure, your oil life, and so forth. You can also do this every 6 months. So this is fairly easy to check your oil. Now, when it comes to changing your oil, it's a completely different matter. Changing your oil, you need multiple items required, I guess you could say. One you need is the correct size socket wrench to drain the oil, a oil pan, a jack, a rag if desired, and a new oil filter. Now, when it comes to draining the oil, what you do first is you just unsocket the lug nut that's located underneath your vehicle. Now, this is typically towards the front of the vehicle and right next to a blue oil filter. And what you do is you just simply unscrew the oil filter and the lug nut, draining out the oil. You wait for a good long 3 minutes to let the oil just drain out. And once the oil starts just dripping, then that's whenever it's good. Then you take the jack and the oil pan out after it's all drained, and you put the lug nut back in along with the new oil filter. After that, you're done with the underside of the vehicle. Now, some vehicles do require you to change the oil filter on top underneath the hood, but that's just specific models. Now, when it comes to putting in the correct oil, there's a little cap located usually on the engine. Now, this cap will show you the exact type of oil that you need to put in. And when it comes to the exact amount of oil you need to put in, all you need to do is just locate the owner's manual, and it'll tell you in the owner's manual, or you can Google it. But so whenever you find out the correct oil type and the oil amount, pour it in, and then you're pretty much done as far as changing the oil. Now, after this speech, I hope all of you can at least walk through the procedure to at least change and check your oil. You might not be able to do it right away, but at least knowing the procedure helps.
Okay. And Devin, if you have to go, you could just do your peer and self-critique using the video.
Okay, I actually have a little bit of time, so.
Okay. You have an exam, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, Sarah or Colt?
I'll go. I got another car. Orientated. One.
Do you need help sharing your screen?
Can I just do a test run?
Yeah.
Do I have to pick whiteboard?
Just a little
Oh,
bit
yeah,
button.
yeah.
Yep, there you go. Can't see it yet.
Says it started.
Yep.
How do I go back to the normal? How do I go back to this? Back
There
to
we go.
Video, yeah. I don't know what I've done. My computer's, yeah, it's...
Are you trying to go to a video online?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, my video thing. How do I get it back up?
I don't know. Were you in Firefox?
It was in...
There we go. There, I see it, Chrome at the top. So go over to the right.
Well, it wasn't in Chrome. It was at... But I think it should be all right. I'll just do my speech and leave it on this here. That's all right.
Okay, yeah, and then just put this in presentation mode, your PowerPoint. There we go. Okay.
Did you know in 2016, RM Auto Buzz's survey revealed that 40% of Americans don't know how to change the tire on their car? It's crazy to think this means that almost half of the American population, if stranded somewhere because of a blown tire, would be unable to change it themselves and get back on the road. How many people here today can actually honestly say they can change their own tire? I was taught how to change a tire before I even got my driver's license. And because of it, I've been able to get off the side of the road and get back onto my journey. Today, I'm here to exemplify the necessary steps to changing your own car tire. First off, I'm going to be talking about the required materials, then move on to the procedure of taking the old tire off, and finally putting the new tire back on. First off, I'll explain the materials and tools that everyone should be carrying in their car. A spare tire, which obviously there's many different sizes, so you just need to make sure you get the right one for yourself and your car. A wheel spanner, make sure it fits your wheel nuts, and then a jack and its parts. This is a very small list of tools compared to the trouble of not having them. This then brings me to the steps you need to take in order to change your tire. First, you're going to have to gather your tools. Then, take your wheel spanner and loosen all of your wheel nuts. Be sure to leave all the nuts on and only hand loose. Slide your jack under the car and center it under the wheel axle of the tire you're changing. Using your jack and its parts, raise your car wheel so it's off the ground. Then, take off all the wheel nuts and keep them on hand. Slide the old tire off. After taking off the tire, it is equally important to safely put the new one back on. First step is to slide the tire back onto the wheel lugs. When putting the spare tire on, be sure that it goes on the same way that the old one comes off, because otherwise it won't go on. Then you'll have to put all the wheel nuts back on and just put them on hand tight. Be sure that the nuts, when you put them on, that they go diagonally. Like you put one down here, one up here, and then you move around your circle until they're all on. Then use your wheel spanner and just make them as tight until your wheel just keeps spinning and then stop. Then you're going to lower your jack back down and so that all the tires are bearing the same weight. Then you're going to go back around and do the same thing, tightening all the nuts again, but making sure this time you can't turn your wheel spanner anymore. Slide your jack out from underneath it and put away all your tools. After looking at the procedure of putting the tyre back on, it's almost time to hit the road again. As easy as changing a tyre sounds, it's obvious that more people need to learn how to do it themselves. And after being given a list of materials as well as procedures, I hope everyone here today can successfully change their own tyre. Thanks.
Okay. Sarah, are you the last one?
Yep.
Okay, Sarah, what's your last name?
Weber.
Weber. Okay. All right, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Can you remember a time when you've had a conflict with somebody and things didn't quite work out the way you wanted them to? I bet each and every one of us has multiple experiences like this. And it's crazy that for how prevalent conflict is, we aren't very good at always solving it. As a daughter of a therapist, I know a thing or two about talking through your problems. So today I wanted to talk about the 3 steps to effectively resolving conflict, and that is being upfront, listening, and being honest. Now, when you have a conflict, what is your initial reaction? Mine is usually just to completely ignore it, which is exactly the opposite of what you should do. You should always be upfront when you have a problem with somebody, because ignoring it is not at all worth it. It can make aggression build up, and that can just make the conflict worse. And if you're ignoring a problem because you think it may eventually go away, there's no guarantee that it will. So you should always just bring it up right away. Also, addressing a problem is the first step to dealing with it. So you should just get that right out of the way. This brings me to my next point, which is that listening is the best way to progress the resolution process. Make sure that when you're having this conversation, you're in a place where you can listen. You don't want to be distracted by outside noise, and you also don't want to be distracted by inside noise. So if you have something going on that makes it so you can't focus, make sure that you take a little time away before having the resolution conversation. And when you do get to that point, you want to make sure that you are heard. Double check that they really understand whatever it is you're trying to say. And you want to do the same for them, so make sure you're listening. Repeat back whatever they're saying to you in your own words in your head, and if you don't quite get it, make sure you ask clarifying questions. And last but not least, when you reach the end of this conversation, double check to make sure that you have been completely honest. If you haven't been, you'll end up doing a lot more harm than good, because if you don't get everything out there that you need to, the conflict isn't fully resolved and you might have to come back to it again. It's really hard to do, but at the end of the day, if you're honest, you'll know each other better and you'll trust each other more. And there isn't always a resolution to problems, but again, if you're honest about it, there will be understanding and respect there, so that with time, a resolution may come. It's a big world with people from all kinds of backgrounds, and we all have differences, and this naturally leads to conflict. But instead of running from these differences, I think we should learn to embrace them. And I think the best way to do that is by being upfront, listening when you have conversations, and always, always being honest. That way we can gain something from problems rather than lose something.
I don't think I heard one thank you for conclusions, and I love that. I hate thank you. Okay. What questions do we have? Let me stop this recording.